with is Om. So how do we start with Om? Anyone's done the meditation with me before? No? We just start off by chanting Om. So what you'll do is you'll take in a deep breath, and then when you breathe out, with your out breath, you're going to do Om. So I'll show you how to do it. It's three sounds, three letters, A, U, Ma. And here we go. Then you pause, hold the breath, count to 5, then breathe in. Pause again. Breathe in. Breathe in. And say it along with me. This sound Om, Krishna refers to it in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, I am the sacred syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. All Vedic mantras actually begin with the word Om. It is considered the primal sound, the original sound in the universe, the sound before any sound. And the words, the sounds are actually, the reason it is not Om, it is Aum, A-U-Ma, is because these are the sounds you would make if you didn't even have a tongue. So if you try it, it's as primal as that. It goes right back. Because the tongue is actually where words form. And when words form, thoughts form. And when thoughts form, your life is created. Your life is actually a thought form. It is your thought come into form. But if you go back to the place of no thought, if you want to go back to the place of no thought, then you go back to this primal space where there is sound, but no meaning to that sound. There is no meaning to the word Om, other than any meaning you want to give it. There's people who give it all kinds of meaning, but there is no meaning. It is a primal sound. And a primal sound of this nature, what it does is it brings you back to the primal you. Try and get what I'm saying here. The you that you know is the you of meanings, the you of words, the you of sounds in the world, sounds that have been uttered to you, sounds that you have uttered. Those sounds that were uttered to you formed the ego, formed who you are. But the sound that comes with no meaning, that has no emotion attached to it, no significance attached to it, no anything, that sound is called Nad Brahma. It is the sound of silence. The famous song, Sounds of Silence, if you all heard it from the 60s. But I don't know if he was referring to this, but this is what it really is. This is the sound of silence. This is the sound that drowns out all sounds in your mind. It drowns out all the chatter of your mind, but then learn to do it correctly. So as you do it, again, I'm going to explain it to you one more time. Ah comes from the belly. Ooh comes from the heart. Like, ooh, wow, that's beautiful. Ah comes from the belly. That's like this guttural sound, deep. Ooh. And the ma sound comes into your forehead. So when you say ma, you close your mouth and you let the sound reverberate inside your head, all in here, as it's awakening the third eye. So let's try it one more time. Do it with me this time. Breathe in. Fully let your belly expand as you breathe. Hold your breath and count to 5. Do it with me now. Pause. Breathe in fully, deeply. Pause. Like that. We'll then do a Vedic mantra that goes with that, and that is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I have put it up on screen before, and maybe I can pull it up even now. I'll try. Fast enough. I'll share it with you. Sorry about the delay. Here we are. It's a very simple mantra, and I think you'll all be able to. So the idea with any mantra, a man means mind, and tra means to deliver or free the mind. And the way you chant, you do this is you sing along. I actually will sing first, and then you sing. I'll be quiet, then you sing on your side. Since this is a Zoom call, I won't do it that way. We'll just all sing at the same time. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 This is an invocation to Vasudev, Sri Krishna, who is the author of the Bhagavad Gita and is the person speaking the Bhagavad Gita. So we are invoking his presence into this assembly of wonderful souls who have gathered around to listen and talk and share and discuss. So feel free to ask questions as I'm going along, and feel free to come in with whatever your insights are. I'll start with the reading. Chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita, text 22. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. Such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Let me read that again for you. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. Such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise person does not delight in them. It's very tempting to hear this and think I should therefore not have any, I should just leave the world and have nothing to do with the world. One thing I want you to know, Krishna was a person of what lived in the world and showed us how to live in the world. He didn't go out renouncing the world, neither did he actually advocate that. His friend who he's speaking with, Arjun, is also a prince, a warrior, very much in the world and part of the world. So what does he mean? An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery. You might say that there are very intelligent people in this world who are very much attached to sense pleasures, into accumulating things, into having all kinds of good times. And after all, what's wrong in having a good time? And you'd be right. There's nothing wrong. And this is not a judgment. This is simply an observation of what happens when one becomes wise. Wisdom allows you to discern what is in your highest interest and what is not. So I think for all of us, I'll speak for myself as well, as we got older, we began to realize that, let's say, getting drunk wasn't a great idea. We did it a few times as kids, and then we saw the consequences, maybe had some bad consequences, maybe not so bad, but or you saw other people have really bad consequences. I remember as a kid seeing my friends taking some form of drugs, and I got so turned off that I never touched any. And I was like, oh my God, this guy lost his mind, walked off naked into the street, and he'd had some drug, and it was like, oh my God, I don't want to touch that stuff. So, whatever experience you've had in your youth has matured you to the point where you realize certain things are in your highest interest and certain things are not. You may have, your binging and partying days may be over by now. Maybe not. I can't assume that. But for a lot of people, as they get older, they start moving away from such things because you become wiser. So this is wisdom taken to its ultimate. And that is a person who realizes that certain kinds of pleasures have a beginning and an end. In other words, they are temporary. And if they're temporary, that means I'm going to have to keep on chasing them again and again and again, finding the next new thing, finding the next adventure, finding the next country to visit, finding the next high or the next person to make out with, or whatever else it is, that you're looking for. When wisdom means you begin to realize that such things have a beginning and an end, and I'm constantly chasing them, never fulfilled, never satisfied, never happy. It's like I go off to a vacation, I come back, I'm back at work now, and I'm back in the same drudgery, right? I haven't solved the problem. I get drunk. One night I feel a little good. Next morning I have a hangover or I threw up or whatever else, and I'm back to my problems again. I haven't solved the actual problem. The problem is still with me. What is being referred to here, when he says here, such a wise person does not delight in them. So what does he do, or he or she do? Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. So let's read that carefully. If one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated in this world and is happy. So think about why. Again, if you're chasing your desires, it doesn't mean you shouldn't have, again, this is not black and white. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have a home or make it nice. By all means, do that. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have a car and even have a nice one if you like.
Oh no.
Okay, whoever that is. All right. So the point here is that whatever it is that you are chasing, know it for what it is. Know that your desire, one desire will only lead to another, will lead to another, will lead to another. Have desires, but know what they are. Know that they will not make you happy. They will not fulfill you. They will not give you what you ultimately seek. They're required for the world. They're required to get by in this world, no doubt. But be clear about what their function is. And then you will not be deluded, as the Bhagavad Gita is pointing out. Where then shall we find our happiness? Because if you look at this world, people are chasing happiness. It's the American dream, right? The pursuit of happiness. We're pursuing it constantly, but we're never finding it, right? And some people describe this as a dog chasing its tail. Now, I don't see this happen much here. I don't know why. But in India, you'll see it a lot. The dog trying to catch its tail and then going round and round and round in circles. And that's what they're referring to. Maybe here they chop the tails off, make them shorter. I don't know what it is. But there, when you talk of stray dogs, you see them with their long tails, and they're kind of maybe trying to catch their tail to scratch it or something like that. But whatever the reason that they're doing it is they're going around in circles. And so that's the analogy, is that if you're constantly chasing and pursuing the pleasures of the world, you'll never be fulfilled. You'll continually keep on and on and on doing that. What should you be doing instead? The next verse actually explains it. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme and ultimately attains the Supreme. This verse is critical. One whose happiness is within. How is one's happiness going to be within? Question for any of you. How would your happiness be within? What does that mean?
I think it means to be self-sustaining and to have your relationship with yourself and with your soul.
Yeah. Yeah. To not be looking for it outside. I find in a lot of cases, people look for their happiness from outside. So things are supposed to make me happy. My job is supposed to make me happy. My partner is supposed to make me happy. And all of that only leads to unhappiness because they don't make you happy. You're never fulfilled. Your job has its share of problems. Your relationship has its share of problems. So you can keep on blaming people. You did this and you did that, and you shouldn't have done this and you shouldn't have done that. But all of that blame, all of that accusation is you giving your power out into the world. He's telling others, whether it's the weather, or whether it's the government, or whether it's society, whatever it is, they are not supposed to do this. They are the cause of my unhappiness, my upset, or they are the cause of my happiness. Either way, if they are the cause of your happiness, they will also be the cause of your unhappiness. The only place to really look at is that place which is completely in your control and not in the control of anyone else. That place is here. And that place, when you master being in this body and your thoughts and your mind and your ego, and you access your soul, with this configuration, you have tapped into the greatest treasure on earth. There is nothing more powerful, more beautiful, and more fulfilling than what lies within you. But the doorway within is in quieting the mind and ego. That is the thing that is going to constantly come up. You're going to constantly find yourself coming up against. What does the ego do? Remember it said in the earlier verse, to check the force of desire and anger. Where does anger come from? Anger comes from unfulfilled desire, which is only not only about material things. It's I want something to happen. I want you to do this for me. You should do this, you should not do that. And when you do that, when my expectations are not met, then I am angry, then I am upset, then I am hurt, then I am sad, when my expectations are not met. And so that when those expectations are repeatedly not met, then it builds up and builds up and builds up, and you have anger. It's like a pressure cooker sort of exploding. But think about this. If you are not expecting from others, if you are not giving that power to others to make you either happy or feel loved or feel special or feel anything, if you don't give it to the world, if you don't give it to people, but you take responsibility for it. I am in charge of my own weather. I am my own country. I am my own universe. And I get to determine the conditions within here. To do that, I must manage, as a good manager, my own thoughts, my own mind. Where is it going? What is it doing? Manage it. Stop it. If it's going in a direction that is hurtful to me, if it goes in a direction that is where it's speculating or it's imagining or it's assuming or it's making up stories, stop it. Stop right now. Stop. Stop, oh my mind. I'm not going with you on that journey where you want to go. I'm going to sit right here in my inner space. And we're not going anywhere. And now I've taken full responsibility for my happiness. Nobody else gets to play with it. Nobody else gets to mess with it. If you do have a partner, you do have a lovely house, you do have some great friends, you do have a wonderful meal, nothing wrong. But let that be just the thin little layer of icing on your cake. Such that if it's not there, it's wonderful. And if it is there, that's wonderful too. It's another flavor, it's another taste, but you're not dependent upon it. You can generate your own flavor. You can generate your own happiness. That is the key. Generating your own happiness, not expecting things or people or situations to generate it for you. So what is the pathway to that? And he says here, one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within. Think of this word, rejoicing within yourself. How do you rejoice within yourself? Try it out. Be inwardly focused and then let your body move. Try this as an experiment. Be inwardly focused, be in a park or someplace like that, and let your body move. And you will notice that if you let it go, it will be this flowing wave. It will be a butterfly. It will be, you may look drunk. But if you let your body go and express that, you will see the rejoicing that is occurring, being manifest in this world. It's a wonderful experience to just let go. Stop trying to control the world. Stop trying to control anything. If there's anything you want to control this. And you can't actually control it. Like it's not like a switch you'll turn on and off. You have to understand how it works and then how to bypass it. You have to learn how to take charge of it. For example, you can't make a dog anything other than a dog. It will always be a dog, but it can be tamed. And that's the same with your mind. Your mind will be a mind. It will want to wander. It will tend to, want to, what is this? What is that? It will want to judge. It will want to criticize. It will want to do all kinds of things. It's your job to rein it in.
I have a question. I have a question. So we're supposed to be just looking inward 100% of the time?
No. You just be noticing where your mind's running off to. So if you had a dog in your house and he was running off to the street, you'd be aware, right?
Yeah, but
or
you're
you keep the
supposed
door
to be
shut.
you're supposed to be content and just by yourself 100% of the time. Eventually,
If you want to reach a state where nobody can upset you or hurt you, then do this. If not, it's okay. Nobody has to. There is no supposed to. There is no have to. No one is required to do anything. But if you want to come to a place where you are in a place of stability within yourself, then do not give your power out to other people and circumstances and situations, or else you will find them constantly, you will find yourself constantly at their mercy. That's the point that's being made here.
so during COVID, are you supposed to be like fine for a week by yourself?
A week, a month, a year. The point I'm trying, again, you see, you're approaching it without the practice of meditation. Once you practice meditation, you begin to feel that inner space. You begin to realize how sweet and how delicious it is, how satisfying and how nurturing it is. So I recommend that from your perspective, it would seem ridiculous. I get it, absolutely, right? But if you have tasted that inner sweetness, and if you know what that is, then from that place, it would not be ridiculous at all.
All
So
right, thanks.
just a question of an experience that I encourage you to have.
Okay, thanks.
Practice meditation in any of or all of its forms. I did a little something in the beginning today. Do that or anything else, and then you'll feel it differently. Would anyone like to give their feedback on that point? Have you experienced the sweetness of what lies within you, and how you could spend any amount of time in the presence of that? Craig? Mariah?
I haven't perfected it by any
No,
means,
I'm not talking about, I have not perfected it either.
but I'm
That's
aware
okay.
of it's actually when I do get when I have emotion that comes up, like I get bored or you have a hard time hearing.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay. When actually I think Mariah, can you
Somebody is, yeah,
mute your
someone
phone?
needs to mute.
I think I'm
Can,
gonna
can,
ask you that.
can I do what?
Mute your phone.
Sure.
Okay. So when I'm saying when I get like emotion, when I get like extra, um, if I have sadness or anything, it actually helps me ground into more of like the observer, where I can like separate myself easier. Because if actually everything's going good, I start losing the stillness. I start losing like the anchor. So it's almost like when I do have things going wrong, it's like I can take a step back and watch and actually become more aware and slow down. And then I separate them. I become the observer. I see what's going on. And then from the observer's perspective, I start to like get to that soul level where I'm like, wow, everything's great. Everything feels fantastic here. And just look at all that muck. What doesn't matter whatsoever. So that's the work. Like I said,
That is the work. That is the work.
Yeah.
And it is that practice of being able to become the observer to your thoughts, to your experience, to what's going on in your life, to the people. That is the place to be able to look at the world from. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't want to have your human experience. By all means, have that. Have the emotion, have the upset, have the anger, have the fear, have the whatever, and then step back out of it. And then step into it and hold it. Hold that human part of you with all its fragility and all its anxiety and all its sensibilities, and hold it. And let these two become united as one, not as two separate things. It does not mean that we negate the world or our humanness or our imperfections, but rather we gain a way in which to be able to harness the energy of our soul to become an active player in our human existence. When these two come together, and become a team, There is an incredible way of living. And it's and you brought up a very important word, Craig, perfection. No, there is no such thing. There is no perfection. We will all lose it from time to time, no matter how much you gain, no matter how much you grow. I will lose it, okay, from time to time. I will lose that inner space, but I know that I've lost it, I'll come right back. This inner sweetness is the norm. It used to be the other way around. It used to be that once in a while during meditation or in nature, I could touch that sweetness. I could touch that space of that divine thing that people would. First, I couldn't touch it at all for the longest time. And then I could just about touch it. And it was beautiful. And, like someone who's become an addict, I kept wanting to go back there again and again and again. Couldn't do it all the time because I was busy working, but I would take out moments, even just walking from the office to the car. That was a moment, right? A moment where I had 5 minutes of a break, go step out in the sun and just step into that place again. And now I knew I could come back to it again and again and again and again. Once that became clear, it became easy. And now what's happened is it's now the bulk of the time I find myself there, and once in a while, I lose it. Where suddenly the mind takes off and starts to go somewhere. Like, hey, wait a minute, where are you going, buddy? Or gets offended by something, or gets hurt by something, or gets sad by something. Yeah, it happens. And I don't want to lose that part. I think it's very precious. I think it's really important to have that frailty that of the human existence, to stay in touch with that. At least for now, I think so. So this transition can happen. I'm sharing it with you, it's no achievement, it's just a matter of practice. But it is something that all of us can have, no matter how busy we are. One has to become steady in this inner space, in this state of peace and calm that lies within us. And it is possible for every single one of us to do. If you think it's not, then it's not. You said so, not me. I say to you, it's possible. And I say to you that no matter how, busy your monkey mind, as some call it, is, you can get here to a place that is a whole lot quieter and more peaceful. Because I've had that mind, and I've seen what it took to train that. So
is that called detachment?
No.
No. All right, thanks.
It's not about detachment or attachment. The idea is to be neither. See, detachment it's a very simple thing. You know that nothing is mine. Nothing and no one belongs to me. So if nothing is mine, then where is the attachment? And if there is no attachment, there is no detachment. Now, does the mind tend to get attached to things? You bet it does. But there has to be a higher wisdom that is prevailing in you so that you can guide your mind. And that's what these books are all about, is to give us that higher wisdom. Detachment is only the flip side of attachment. And people who become detached like that, let's say renounced, have a tendency to fall back into some form of attachment. They might go and live in a monastery, an ashram, whatever, and now they'll become attached to that ashram or that monastery, or they'll become attached to the position that they have within that as the head of that monastery or that ashram. It's the same old thing, right? And just in a different colored robe now. But the essential act of attachments, they were supposed to be detached, but now they're attached to their detachment. So it's about pulling out of both sides of this equation of duality and learning how to be neither attached nor detached. You have the things you have, but they're not yours. You have them for now. Take care of them. At the same time, you don't let anyone else misuse them either. All of this that you have, this body, this mind, the capabilities you have, the talents you have, the things you have, they all belong to the divine, to God. They are not yours. They were here before you and they will be here after you. So what is there to be attached to? The moment you die, you leave all of it behind, all of it, every single penny. So what are you being attached to? You will leave everyone behind. And that truth must be remembered always. And as long as you keep that in mind and keep that front and center in your life, the suffering that comes from attachment will not exist. It'll come momentarily. You will remind yourself, you will step back. Of course, attachment has a certain sweetness to it too. So I wouldn't want to not have attachment. Attachment is a beautiful thing. Too much of it, and you'll find yourself unable to breathe, unable to exist. You will suffer greatly. It's something to savor, not to get drunk on. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text number 25. Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all karma, achieve liberation in the Supreme. Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts. Start with that. So it's a very interesting observation he's making here. The relationship between duality and doubt. Firstly, what is duality? Duality is, in fact, it's the very nature of this world. Sometimes things are hot, sometimes they are cold. Sometimes you like some things, sometimes you don't like something. Sometimes you think something is good, sometimes you think something is bad, right? And it varies from person to person and different stages of your life too. What is good for you at one time is no longer good for you at another time. So that's duality. And why is there duality? There's duality only for one reason, because you have a mind. And the mind bifurcates everything into positive and negative. So being positive is no less a mind thing than being negative. People think only being negative is bad. No, being positive is as bad as being negative. Because both of them, you're still in the orbit of your mind. You are still controlled by your mind. I want only the positive things. I want to hear only positive things. You're still hankering, or rather fulfilling the desires of your mind. You haven't found that state that is beyond duality, wherein real happiness lies. Real positivity goes beyond the mind. It is not so what does that mean? It means it is not subjected to, so it is not dependent on circumstances. It is not dependent on what somebody says or does, or what's going on in your life or not going on in your life, whether you have money or you don't have money, whether you have a partner or you don't have a partner, whether you have a job or you don't have a job. It is not dependent on that. That quality of happiness, that quality of contentment is what you get from within. It is independent of the circumstances. So even in the time where I remember coming here and then completely out of money, and I went to live in a tent for a few months on a friend's property and started writing my book, Loving Soulfully. Even during that time, I remember this wonderful experience of being content and happy. It didn't matter that I had nothing. It was nothing. Money had run out totally. Whatever I came with had run out. There's not enough to pay the rent. And yet there was a contentment, and there was a peace, and there was an acceptance, and there was a happiness that could not be taken. And it became very clear that this happiness that lies within cannot be taken away by anyone or anything. Momentarily, sure, there was a moment of panic. First moment when I realized, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay the bills? I went on a walk. I said, God, what are we going to do now? How do we deal with this situation? And then gradually it started to get clear how to proceed and what to do. And everything fell into place. So rising beyond the dualities of happiness and distress, of positive and negative. That is the challenge in front of us. And that challenge may seem very mystical or, far-fetched, or only, you might think only a few people can do it. I used to think that only a few people can do these things. And I've managed to find out that that was a myth my mind was creating. But rising beyond the doubt, beyond the dualities, is about coming to this inner space. That's where it starts to happen. Here is a place of non-duality. Here within you is a place where dualities do not exist. There is no positive or negative. And that's why this whole idea that they have in religions that God judges people. How would God judge people if God lives in a state of non-duality? God is in a state of non-duality. There is no right and wrong. There is no positive or negative or good or evil, any of that. In a state of non-duality, there cannot be judgment. It's not possible. So when you're in a state of non-duality, when you're in a state of the observer, as Craig said, there is no judgment there. There is no better or worse. If someone said to you in this moment, would you like to come to heaven or to paradise or to whatever else they might say, I'm already there. There's nowhere to go. That's that place of non-duality. It lies within you. And that is why when people talk about liberation or moksha or going to heaven, I say heaven is right here. If you haven't found it here within you, then you won't find it anywhere else. You're not going to find it out there somewhere. It's not in some light. Those are places. You will still come back to this world. When you have found heaven in you, within you, then it won't matter to you whether you come back here life after life, or whether you go into some light or some heaven or whatever else they might say is out there. I don't know what's out there, but I can tell you what's in here. In here is that place. So here he says, those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts. Very interesting. The dualities arise from doubts. Very interesting correlation. I wonder if someone could help me with this one. How do dualities arise from doubts? Anybody have a thought on that? Does doubt give rise to duality? What is doubt?
My quick guess would be that there's a bit maybe of the nature of reality. Just life is unfolding, nature's unfolding as it is, and
Right?
your mind jumps in and doesn't like it and creates that duality.
That it does. What is the role that doubt has in that?
I think that doubt would probably come into play because when you're faced with dualities, you have to figure out where you land. And so if you're presented with a duality, you're possibly going to doubt one or the other in order to get to which side you feel like you need to be on.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I've often been in those situations where, you had to choose between should I do this or should I do that? And then there was doubt. What did someone call it? Paralysis of analysis. Right? Ever been there? And that is really, really messes with your head, because you don't know, should I do this or should I do that? Now you're overthinking everything and you're trying to figure it out, and you're overthinking. That's the and that is a hell I wouldn't wish on anyone. And some people live there every day. They're in this overthinking mode, over analyzing, over sitting with doubt, doubting people, doubting life, doubting if they'll be safe. And it puts you right into the thick of duality. Because now, remember, the mind is as it is trying to put things into positive and negative. But what duality does is it adds chaos to the mix. I'm sorry, what's that word? What doubt does is it adds chaos to the mix. Should I go this way or should I go that way? Is this what's right or is that what's right? I don't know what's right. I like him, but I don't like him. I think this is a good job, but it's not a good job. Now I'm confused. So confusion comes in, chaos comes in, doubt comes in, fear comes in. And it really messes with your head. And what started off as this duality, these two poles, now becomes this swirling mess inside your head that starts sucking you in. So the idea is to go beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose mind is engaged within, who are and always working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all karma or sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. So it's moving out of I, me, and mine. What is in it for me? And starting to work for the welfare of all beings. Yes.
Rohit, it sounds too like just reading this that the doubt's very external.
Yes,
Because yeah, and so if you're within, then your doubt's probably
gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
That's right. If you're within, then you've come to a place where it's steady. There's no doubt. There's another verse in the Gita where Krishna says, "For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor the next."
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't be in doubt and be happy. So think of if you have a partner, right? And if you're now doubting your partner, how happy are you going to be in that relationship? And how far will your love and it will just go downward. You've got to get yourself back to a place of trust. And the same thing applies to life. I find that if you doubt life, then you're always going to be in anxiety. If you don't know, how am I going to survive? How am I going to make it? How will I make it through COVID? How will I make it through with my bills? How will I get another job? If you doubt, then you will be in great misery and in great pain. But if you trust life, because it's an option for you, do I want to trust life or do I want to doubt life? Do I want to trust this person or do I want to doubt this person? What trust means is not naive or naivety. It's not about a naive trust. Oh, I'm just going to close my eyes and, be in some kind of a la la land that everything's okay. Trust to me is a powerful force that penetrates reality. When I say to you, I trust you, and that I know that you will not betray that trust. When I mean it from my heart, and when it's a powerful declaration of who you are, you will find very hard to move away from that, to actually go out and break that. Somebody trusted you that deeply, right? When you trust the universe, when you trust God, when you trust life, you trust not from a place of weakness, but from a place of power, from a place of choice, from a place of this is so. I trust that I will be taken care of. I did this experiment. I trusted that I will be taken care of, and I was always taken care of. Then I realized, why you only trust you'll be taken care of? I just start trusting that you can play a bigger game and have more in life. But what point is there?
I have a question.
Sure.
Are you saying trust your instinct?
No, I'm saying go beyond your instinct. I'm saying trust beyond reality. Look, there is reality, and you're going to respond to reality the way people do. You will like some things, not like some things. Some things will be good, some things will be bad. You're operating in this framework. Okay, this is where your instinct is going to come in. What should I do? What should I not do? And all this, what's the right thing to do in this situation? But to trust from a place of power is to penetrate reality as if you were you were like a X-ray or a laser penetrating a rock. Okay, the rock being reality, and you were like that laser. Your intention, your thought was so powerful that you would trust that I will. I've known people to do this who were poor and became multimillionaires. They trusted that they were going to have money. They knew it. It's like, I'm broke right now. I got nothing. I'm living on the street right now. But I can tell you this, I will have millions of dollars. And they did it because they would not let reality stand in their way. They had a certain feeling in them, a certain trust in them that this would be so. And I say you can do that for anything in life. That trust that you have, that when you command it, that this shall be so, then you penetrate reality. And reality now shifts to accommodate your focused and unrelenting trust in what you believe to be true. Whether that is that you're a scientist who wants to discover something, whether that is you're a lover who wants to find the love of your life, whether it is whatever it might be. This trust is powerful. The universe bends to support you when you have that kind of penetrating vision. So by trust, I'm using the word entirely differently than most people do. I'm not saying I trust you, and then you betrayed my trust. No, no, no. You may have done something you're not supposed to do, which technically would be called you betrayed my trust. But I'm going to trust you to get back on track. And I'm going to trust you to continue to be a person of integrity. I'm going to trust you beyond what I see and what I hear and I'm not going to close my eyes to what you're doing. No, I see it. But I continue to trust from a powerful place of intention and seeing through. I don't know if I'm making any sense to you here.
You are using the word trust interchangeably with the word faith.
Okay, fair enough.
And it's
Isn't there a certain element of faith and trust?
Yes.
yeah.
But I'm looking at, can your trust be shaken or is it unshakable?
That's faith.
That's faith, yeah.
And this feels like it kind of gets into the realm too, Rohit, of Krishna, of God, of
Yeah.
that you're trusting in God, that you're trusting in the universe, that you're trusting, and that you're aligning your intention with the trust that all will be well, that
Yes.
you'll be taken care of.
Yes.
That's powerful.
It is very powerful. There was a lovely, I may have mentioned this on this group, I don't know. There was a lovely line that was there in this one movie called The Most Exotic Marigold Hotel, where he says, it's all going to be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, then it's not the end. So there was this trust that he had in life that everything was going to be okay, right? And he's running around like a crazy guy, but everything sorts out ultimately. And that is how it is in life. Ultimately, everything sorts itself out. Let's continue reading till the end of this. We have only a few minutes though. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring to perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future. And he talks about the process, shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breath within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence. The transcendentalist, aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So, yeah, the benefactor of all living entities. So you know what, Mariah, you said something really, really very precious, in fact, that the trust in God, that everything will be okay, that ultimately you're taken care of. You know, one may question, but what is the need to personify God? Yes, we know that God is an energy, that energy is everywhere. We know that God is the light. We know that God is the universe. Accepted, all of that accepted. To those who say that God cannot personify itself, I would ask, what? Are you going to place a limitation on God? Can that which is everything not become something if it wants to? Why would it want to be something? So that you can have a relationship with it. That's the reason for the personification. Now, some may ask, well, okay, then the light came first and the personification came later, the avatar came later. No, actually, Krishna says they exist simultaneously. The light, the universe, which some call it, and the personified version of that universe, which is Krishna, have existed simultaneously, eternally. So it's not a beginning which comes first and which comes later. Now, why do you have that personification? And so that you can have a relationship. Why do you have a relationship? So that you can have that trust that God's got my back, that God is with me in my heart, everywhere, and yet existing as a being who I can trust and place my life in his and her hands. And I say his and her because we don't talk much about Radha, his beloved, who is the actually even more advanced subject of study, but we'll get there sometime. But that trust that I am taken care of by God, and that nothing, not even death, can take away that from me. That is the ultimate meaning of trust. See, there is trust that is shakable, and there is trust that is unshakable. And that's the difference in what I'm talking about. There is happiness which is shakable, and happiness that is unshakable. There is peace that is shakable, and peace that is unshakable. Love that is shakable, love that is unshakable. Right? Think of a parent-child relationship. A mother loves her child. Is that a shakable thing or unshakable? The child might do some wrong things. The mother continues to love that child. A lot of people, when they get into relationships, their love for their partner is shakable. That partner does something that they don't approve of, maybe something, I don't know, illegal, maybe something where they cheated. It's shakable. That love is gone. You're out the door now, buddy. Out. I don't want to see your face again. Right? So shakable. But I'm interested in the world of unshakable.
Yeah.
A love that is unshakable, a trust that is unshakable, a happiness that is unshakable, unwavering, that is there, constantly steady. To me, that is God. And when I start with that model of God, then I want to try to bring that into the world. When I know that I am loved in that way, when I am that I am being taken care of in that way. I may not be getting everything I want. That's not necessarily the case, but I'm taken care of. I am loved. I may not always get the love the way I want it. That's okay. That's me wanting something. May happen, may not. But there is an unwavering relationship with God, just as there is an unwavering relationship for most of us with our parent. Right? It's there, it's solid, it's not going anywhere. And it's that kind of, on our best friends. And with our dogs too, right? So it is there, we see it in the world. And that's the trust and friendship we want to bring into the world. And I'm never saying you need to keep your eyes closed. If someone is doing something that is not appropriate, by all means, talk about it. If they're doing something that is upsetting, we talk about it. But cultivate this quality of unshakable in your life. Become a rock, a powerful force, and not someone who is like a bottle that's tossed up and down with every wave. 1 minute you're on, 1 minute you're off. 1 minute I love you, next minute I don't. 1 minute you're my friend, next minute you're not. And practically, sometimes you've got to set boundaries with some people. I understand that. But continue in your heart, at least, to hold compassion and love for people who you come across, and for the world, and for yourself, without shaking and wavering. I don't know if that's something you can see yourself doing or not. Any thoughts, questions before we wind up?
It's beautiful, Rohit. Thank you.
Welcome. Anybody else? Craig, Rima, Nirmala?
Thanks for putting up with my questions.
Thank you for being inquisitive and for thinking. I appreciate questions because it means you're thinking, you're engaged. That's wonderful. All right, guys, I'll see you next week then. Take care and have a great night. I'll be back for the next meetup in about 2 minutes.
Thanks,
So
Rohit.
whoever wants to join in, I'll see you then. Bye.